in this episode.
And even if it comes out to be a banger, Mark, and Chris and Honest Outlaw and the rest of these guys get a hold of them and they're like, dude, this thing is a freaking banger. You know, people are going to go, you're just shilling for PSA because they make junk.
In an obtuse world, Mark and Jefe will combine military, law enforcement, and general FUD knowledge to keep you vertical. Welcome to the Live, Laugh, Larp podcast.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Thanks for swinging by to another edition of the Live, Laugh, Larp podcast. I greatly appreciate everyone's time while they are out and about doing great things. I don't know what you're doing while you're listening to this, but whatever it is, man, I bet you're doing it the best you possibly can. If you're on the toilet, I don't need to know about that. But what I will tell you guys is, hey, it's been a second since we've had a podcast. Man, let me tell you, our schedules just got completely jumbled up with travel for SHOT Show. And then we tried to do a podcast at SHOT Show and the audio just was not good. We had a really good episode, and then I went back and listened to it, and you guys would not have been able to listen to it. It just broke my heart. But we do have a special guest this time that I think is going to be a lot of fun for everyone for a couple of different reasons. But before we get into that, you know what's going to happen. We have to say a huge thank you to our title sponsor, that is XS Sights. They are your premier iron sight solutions for guns, regardless if that is your pistols, your ARs, your AKs, your MP5s, your lever guns. They have possibly a solution for you. I believe they even have some stuff for shotguns too. Don't quote me on that piece of it. I'm just going off of memory, but I can tell you that they are my go-to when it comes to kind of updating your iron sights for your pistols or whatever. And I really do like their stuff. If you guys are interested in picking up something from XS Sights, please use our code. It is 20% off anything you buy from XS Sights using the code LARP. I don't get a kickback from that whatsoever. It is XS Sights' way to say thank you for listening to the podcast, and I greatly appreciate their support. So with that being said, we have, like I said, a guest. It is Wyoming Gun Project. You guys may know of this guy. If not, we're going to get into it. If you haven't met him, I think this is going to be a lot of fun for everybody. But Matt, how's everything going? Tell us who you are, what you do.
It's going great, Mark. I'm Matt. I am the proprietor of the Wyoming Gun Project YouTube channel, where, as you can imagine, we do gun stuff, much like yourself. So, yeah. No, I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm well, man. A lot of people may not know this, but Matt and I met in Wyoming just a few months ago, face to face for the first time. We had been chatting a little bit on interwebs, and then we kind of stumbled across each other's channels, and we started kind of chatting back and forth in the comments, and then on like I think we emailed each other. Is that
I think so.
Yeah. And then next thing I know, freaking Matt's hanging out with me on my property in Wyoming, helping me hang shutters on the cabin, man. So that was pretty awesome. And again, man, thank you so much for that. That you have no idea how much help that was.
Yeah, no problem, man.
So before we get into talking about SHOT Show, because that's really what this episode is going to be about, you kind of gained a little bit of notoriety last year with a video that went pretty much viral as far as GunTube goes, talking about the P320. For those people who may have seen it but don't realize it's you, kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, you know, everybody had been the uncommanded discharge theory, right? Everybody had been talking about it all over the internet ever since SIG sent out that post that basically blamed us for it, you know, our engagement hacking grifters. And so I had said in the video, I saw somebody do what I did on the video earlier, but they had their finger partially on the trigger, and I said, that's interesting. How do I take the human element out of that equation there to see if I can replicate the just tapping the slide and having the sear released? So I made a video, and boy, oh boy, it got like 1 million views in like 3 days or 4 days, some crazy number like that. And
yeah, it blew up really quick.
Yeah, it was everywhere.
It blew up faster than any of the videos that I've ever done, which is awesome. So obviously you picked up a lot of notoriety, some fame, and what your video ended up doing, regardless of whether people agree with it or not, because I know that there's some people that have come out and it's just like, what he did is not this and that and the other, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. Right. But what it did do was it shed light on this issue outside of the gun community as well. And that was something I really thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, man, it got a lot of what you might say, quote unquote, the normies to pay attention to this.
Yes.
And a lot of huge channels picked it up and put it out there, which I thought was pretty cool. But it's interesting how after that, you go and we're talking about the detractors, and that's fine. If they, I said it before, it's my theory on what's going on in a small percentage, what I believe a small percentage of guns. I think a lot of people out there just thought it was every gun was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I think a small percentage of guns, if the stars align and certain parts are placed in certain ways, that is a possibility, and that's what happens. But it's funny to see that stuff continues to come out afterwards, like the USAA video, of the guard's gun going off in its holster. And, it's funny because I just got a little bit of a resurgence here last week when there were theories about that encounter with ICE. And there was theories that maybe the 320 that the guy was carrying had gone off uncommanded. And so I was getting a lot of text messages and stuff from people that are like, hey man, I saw your video popping up again and this channel used it and they're talking about it again. I'm like, what are you talking about? And it had to do with that, which I guess turns out ICE came out and said it did not go off or whatever.
Okay. I have not heard that yet. I've kind of actually stayed away from like news and everything. Just I'm pretty burnt out. I've just dealing with everything that we talked about off air in the last 5 days, and then on top of that, everything that's going on in Minnesota, and I guess there's another government shutdown looming as well, which automatically directly affects the family as well. It's just I'm just like I'm just going to put my head in the sand for a few days.
I get it.
Yeah. So, but, well, cool. That's, again, I'm very happy to see that is something that, kind of took off for you. Interesting side note on that particular video was I did see one of the detractors do a video over on X, and he was actually able to recreate what you did with his Glock, which I thought was very interesting. I saw it and I was like, huh, okay, well, that's a thing, I guess. And that was the end of it for me,
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see that so far, and we don't have any really empirical data yet, but so far there are a number of different companies that are using the fire control unit style, quote unquote, modular trigger design, very much like the P320 and like the Ruger RXM, and let's see, the IWI Masada, I think, uses one. There's a few others that are out there as well, and I haven't heard of any of those having any issues. So
no, neither have I. I haven't seen one single video of a Glock going off in somebody's holster without being touched, or like you said, insert pistol manufacturer here. And Mark, I've tried to state before, I am not saying that not only am I not saying it's not all 320s, it seems to happen with no other SIG handgun. And when you came out here and we met up and I shot your your P365s. You had all three different versions of them. And internally, if you break them apart, if you take them down, they are different. They are designed more like a Glock than they are. The P320 is the only one that has that design because SIG chose to take the 250, the hammer-fired gun, and Rube Goldberg wedge a bunch of stuff in there because they already had the gun. And they made this mousetrap, because they're trying to do it on the cheap, allegedly. It's what I believe. And, and now they're having issues. So
yeah, it's
allegedly.
Yeah. It brings up another great point is that the 365 has not had any issues whatsoever. So I know that let me back up. There have been issues with the P365, but they are not related to uncommanded discharges, negligent discharges, accidental discharges, whatever term you want to use it. They had issues with firing pins breaking, which they fixed immediately.
Yep.
In fact, the OG P365 that I have is from May of 2018, right at the end of that firing pin issue. And it has, I don't know, 1,200 rounds through it, and I've not had any problems with it. So,
the only issues I've heard of with the P365 are trigger return springs. I have heard of those breaking, but if it breaks, it fails safely, and the gun doesn't go off accidentally or do any of that other kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And the only other issue that I've heard that has been kind of a hot topic for the P365 is their X macros have rust issues. So
I have not heard that.
Yeah. So there was a lot of people about 6 months after they released that were complaining about rust along the slide and the magazines. And I will tell you that one of my magazines has rusted just ever so slightly, but it's like surface. So you wipe it off and it's fine.
Right.
But as far as the pistol itself, I've had zero issues with rust, but you can go to my videos and you will see comments about their pistol having issues as well. So yeah, man, it's just one of those situations that's really, really weird. And so but anyway, we're not here really to talk about SIG and all of that type of stuff. This episode, we wanted to talk about, before we got too far away from the show, which we're already a couple of weeks removed, but we wanted, at least I did. Unfortunately, Hefe's not going to be able to join us. He was going to be here, and then some family things came up. So once again, we surely do miss you, Jefe, but we wanted to talk about kind of our impressions of SHOT Show. And correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, this was your first year.
Yes, sir. First year.
All right. So as a newbie, we can get a perspective that a lot of people may or may not be kind of familiar with. This was my 8th show. So pretty well versed. And then what's interesting is that I learned some things along the way as well. Even though I'm quote unquote a veteran, I guess, there's still, you still learn a little few tips and tricks along the way.
You never stop learning, huh?
Yeah, for sure. So, but let's just start off, your first year. What was your number one expectation kind of going into the show? What did you expect the show to be, and how did that pan out in reality?
So I kind of purposely tried to lower my expectations because I wanted to kind of spend the first day feeling it out, and not be like overwhelmed and starstruck with these big, huge booths and coming. I knew it was going to be a lot of people. I'd been to trade shows before when I worked for the Department of Defense for the Marine Corps on Quantico. They used to have these trade shows similar to that. It was called Modern Day Marine.
Oh,
and so they had Magpul would be there, Glock would be, FN, very similar, except just SHOT Show was scaled up like 100 times over. So I kind of wanted to just kind of feel the whole thing out, and then possibly, if I could, speak to some people on camera and all that other kind of stuff. So I got in there and I was like super confused on like where to go, where was the entrance. Like there's a whole bunch of people, so I'm getting like sensory overload from a bunch of different, directions, and I'm like, oh man, this is crazy. And it was kind of cool having watched all the SHOT Show coverage through all the years on the really big OG channels like Nut and Fancy and Mac and all these guys from way back in the day when YouTubers started doing that thing. Probably when you were doing it too, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like, all right, I'm here. It's kind of the mecca of GunTube, channels and stuff. You got to go to SHOT Show. And that's the other thing I told myself too. I got to go to at least one SHOT Show and feel it out and stuff.
Yeah. And I will tell you that my experience was very, very weird, because the first year that I went was like within the first 6 months of me starting my channel. I didn't know hardly anybody. I knew like 2 people, and I ended up meeting James Yeager for the first time there. And so by
Rest
the
in
end
peace.
of it, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I miss that dude. So by the end of the show, I knew like 3 people,
Yeah.
So, you hear about all these people. They're like, they go to SHOT Show and they go do their thing during the show. Then at night they go out and party and this and that and the other. My first year, that wasn't me. I went to the show. I did my thing. I walked around. I interviewed some people, uploaded some videos.
Yep.
And then I walked back. It was a mile directly east of the expo to my Airbnb, and just ended up spending the rest of the evening in my Airbnb all by myself. It's like, oh, this is so lame, And it's like, what else am I going to do? So anyway, but it's good to hear that you kind of kept your expectations low.
Yeah, I didn't want to, I saw you, and let me just say thank you for, when we were putting those shutters up that you referenced earlier, we were discussing this, and you're like, man, you got to go to SHOT Show, and you helped me out a lot, so I appreciate that. Gave me some inside baseball on what to do and stuff like that. So that was a great help. So thank you for that. And it was awesome to see you there. When people ask me, and I did a follow-up video and stuff, and people ask me like, how was SHOT Show? I was like, it was cool, but I hear a lot of people say this, and I like it. It was better to see you there, to meet Clay. I missed Rodrigo. I wanted to meet him.
Yeah.
To meet some of the very cool people that are in this industry. I didn't run across any jerks or anything like that had attitude or anything. It was cool to sit there and meet the people you talk to online in person and hang out and do that kind of stuff. So I think that was the coolest part for me. It was cool to see all the new stuff, but I had this feeling, and I got to be honest with you, Mark, I had this feeling that it was, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm going to look for the right word. It wasn't dead, but it was very subdued compared to previous SHOT Shows. And then I watched your guys' live stream, you and Clay and Rodrigo, and I forget the 4th guy that you just did like last week.
Right.
And you were talking about it. You're like, it felt very dead compared to previous ones. And I said, okay, and then I'm not crazy, because it did feel like, because of the suppressed gun market, or what they call the Trump slump or whatever.
Right.
it did feel like that companies didn't have a lot of money for like new wild R&D projects, and even PSA. Normally their booth is like, I know they fail to deliver on a lot of these crazy projects that they come out, but it's still cool to see them, right? I was looking forward to, in years past, like I was so hyped about the STG-44 and the VOOC and the list goes on and on. And I even felt the hype being on this side of the internet, watching it on my phone from all these YouTube channels,
Mhm.
3 4 years ago. And then I get there and I'm kind of like, this doesn't feel, I don't know, it doesn't feel like it has the energy and the hype. And maybe it's because a lot of the companies, it seemed like they were putting out the same product with like, oh, we got the same pistol, but there's a different Cerakote color and a
Yep.
threaded barrel. And
Yep.
instead of like, we've done this huge wild thing here, and it felt like that. It felt kind of subdued to me. And then you
Yeah.
guys confirmed it, but I didn't have any frame of reference. Being my first SHOT Show, I didn't really have a frame of reference. And then after I watched your guys live stream, I was like, okay, I was validated that it was kind of a dead show or subdued
Yeah.
compared to previous years.
What we really saw a lot of was people were putting out products that were like kind of front and center to grab your attention.
Uh-huh.
And then they would reel you in and be like, yeah, this is something that we're totally working on. And then you'd start asking very specific questions about it. And then you start to find out, okay, well, maybe this isn't really going to happen at all. And they're just bringing me over to show us the new Cerakote that they have on their, their new pee poo poo, whatever,
Yep.
And I kind of got in a little bit of a back and forth with one of my buddies because he kind of called out Zastava USA for doing that with their Serbian PKM.
Uh-huh.
Because that PKM that they had there was a legit open bolt PKM, right?
Like a full auto class 3?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, it was. And in order for them to bring that into the United States, they have to redesign its operating system so that it will have a hammer instead of an open bolt, because very much like the M240 or the M249, these machine guns will shoot from the open bolt position, and the basically the firing pin is fixed.
Yes.
And so as the bolt closes, it's also igniting that primer at the same time.
Yep.
So that's kind of how the PKM works. This is just very broad, general terms. So don't come after me in the comments.
Right. Very simplified. Right.
Exactly. So they are going to have to go in and redesign all of that. And my buddy was like, hey, they're not going to do that, man. That was just out there to reel you in so they can talk about stuff that they're already doing. And I'm like, yeah, but I will say Zastava had a couple of other things going on that I was like, this isn't necessarily quote unquote new, but I like what you're doing,
Right.
And that was with their Milsurp kits that they're building out. Obviously they have the AB2s, which I've got one. I love it. But they're also going to do the AB1, which is going to be a 1mm receiver and no bulged front trunnion. So kind of a little bit more of a standard quote unquote AKM style pattern.
Right. I saw that.
Yeah. And then they have the B1, or no, the B2. The B2 is their fixed stocked version of the AB2. So the acronym for AB is Serbian for underfolder. And then B just stands for a standard stock. I don't know what the word is. So that's how you differentiate those. And then you move over to the other wall and they've got their Zastava M85. Okay, big deal. You've got the M85. Well, this one we're working on chambering in 300 blackout. And I'm like, yes, I think that's going to be a big seller for them. And then they're also tinkering with the M90 and shortening the barrel to like 14.5 with a pin and welded long M77 style flash hider on it. And I was like,
cool.
Yeah. So a lot of people have been wanting a shorter barreled version of the M90. So for them to go through and kind of tinker that type of stuff, yeah, it's not new, it is new. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that was pretty cool.
No, that's cool. Especially since, as Clay calls it, it's a musket. That thing is like 18-inch barrel, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's really long. But there's some benefits to that too. So with the higher velocity and all kinds of other stuff, and it gives you a lot of room, like he's done to his send it to M13 and get it customized, and got a lot of extra barrel to play with there, which is kind of cool. But no, I think those are all subtle changes to some of their existing line. But I think it's very cool. But again, like you said, there wasn't we're bringing back, and now I just had it in my head and it's escaping me. What does everybody want? The 5.56 AK from Zastava
it's the M21.
Thank you. I just had it too in my head. So it's not like it was that type of shot show. I mean, I know everybody that are into AKs, you, me, Clay, all those guys would be all over that. There'd be video. It'd be like, oh my gosh, they're bringing the M21, and it would be like fire. And Reddit AK community would be on fire right now. Like, yes, so it wasn't like that type, but I get what you're saying. I was impressed with what they were doing. I'm sorry, the gentleman's name that you were talking to, the tall guy that's running the booth that you interviewed.
Yeah,
his name is escaping me.
It's Ronco.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't he say they had like 6 or 7 months where they weren't allowed to import?
Yeah.
And then they had to get so for things like that, I have a lot of grace for some of these companies and what they're dealing with, and when you get 6 or 7 months without being able to import, and now they're only able to import on a limited basis to certain companies, right? As long as they agree that they're sign paperwork and agree or whatever, that they're not gonna.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's not full on importation again, but it's on a case by case basis, right?
Yeah.
So that cuts into their bottom line, and then all the money they had to pay I don't know if he lives here, but if they had to bring the stuff over and pay for the booth and the floor space at SHOT Show, and they're, they had to do all that stuff.
And there were 3 representatives from Zastava in Serbia that flew into the United States for SHOT Show.
Oh, wow.
So there, right there, you've got additional expense that you've got to fly 3 people international to the United States. So you that's easily $3,000 per person.
Sure.
All right. And then round trip, of course. Yeah. And then you have to put them into a hotel room, which more than likely, and these were, and by no means, no offense here, but they were older people, so they weren't staying off strip. I'm sure that they were at the Venetian or the Palazzo. So for 3 rooms, that's another, for the entire week, that's probably another $5,000-$6,000.
Oh yeah,
easily. Shoot, probably even more than that. It's probably closer to $8,000 or $9,000. So right there, you're already talking about $20,000 just for those 3 people to be at SHOT Show.
Yeah, just travel expenses.
Yeah. And then the booth itself, their booth size would be probably. I'm trying to visually figure out the size of their booth and kind of equate it to what I've been told in the past. You're probably looking at about 80 to $80,000 to $100,000 just in floor space
for the 5 days.
Correct. Yeah.
Oof.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you have transportation for all of the equipment to set up the booth. You have transportation for all of the firearms.
Yeah.
Then you have transportation for the 5 or 6 guys that are going to be running the booth all week, so, and then obviously food, lodging, incidentals, rental
and
cars.
Salary, because they still get paid.
Oh yeah. So just Zustava, and they don't even have a quote unquote large booth. Theirs is medium sized. So you're easily talking $200,000 for the entire week. In comparison to someone like, say, Smith & Wesson or Glock, they've got to be pushing $500,000 to $600,000 just for their floor space. Not even anything else. So those companies are probably dropping easily, $800,000, $900,000, maybe $1 million by the time it's all said and done.
That's funny because that's exactly what I thought. We got there right before they started letting people in on the main floor, and we were standing. You could see the FN booth from where we were standing in the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as they let people in, I thought FN booth is booth number 1, front and center, and it was huge. And I thought to myself, I bet they paid more than $1 million for that thing for 5 days. Being the location, because of course, the farther you go back, the cheaper, and the smaller it gets, the cheaper it gets, and then on down on the floors and stuff like that.
Yep. And of course, this is all speculation. I don't know this for sure, but what I'm basing this off of is I was talking to one of the guys from M+M. Mm-hmm. This would have been 2 SHOT Shows ago. Well, now 3 SHOT Shows ago. And so this would have been January of 24. We went to a party at Rifle Dynamics and just so happened to be there with M+M, and I met one of the head dudes. I don't recall his name, but we got to talking and everything, and it turns out that he kind of spilled the beans on how SHOT Show works, and his his little booth area that he was going to have down in the basement, in the dungeon as we call it, was just a table. Kind of like, did you go over to Roswell Rifle Works?
I did not. I missed that, but I saw all your guys' videos.
Okay. All right. So that space right there, just for RRW, would have cost $20,000.
Oof.
So that's basically, call it a 8-foot long table.
Right.
And then the booth itself the booth is probably 10 by 8, right? And so not very much, not big at all. And that was going to be $20,000. So then you take that footprint and you move up 1 floor, and then you multiply that by the space of some of these medium and large size booths. That's where I'm coming up with these numbers.
Yeah. Whew. And they probably pay a premium for location too. Oh, like I guarantee you, FN paid a premium for being right there, first booth, number 1. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
and it's interesting that you go through. You were going through that way to get to all of the different places, because I always go down the hallway to get to the escalators that go up to the media room. I always enter in through there.
Oh, okay.
And then I cut through that first small kind of expo area, and then that dumps into the large room, which is where FN and Glock and Smith & Wesson is.
Yeah. And
what that does for me is it orientates me as to, okay, I just entered in at the southeast corner, and I need to get to the northwest corner to hit the bridge over to Caesar's Forum.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And that kind of helps orientate me, and then I can start remembering, okay, PSA is by the exit to Caesars, but a little bit further west. And then, FN is over by those doors. So I just need to go through the first doorway and then take a left and hug the wall. And that'll lead me right to FN. And that's kind of how I navigate the main floor.
Yeah, because we were hearing from people that the app sucked. It wouldn't work, and they couldn't figure out where they were going. The wife and I had the map out. We're trying to figure out, like, where's this booth? And I'm like, oh my gosh, we're so lost. Like, it was, we were lost a lot. And that's funny because, but being the first one that I went to, I was like, okay, I wasn't very organized, and I learned a lot to know that when we go back next year, because man, you were killing it. You were on a mission. You're like, I got to go here. You had it. It seemed like you had it all planned out, and you're like, I'm doing bam, 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 and hitting the targets right on. And I was kind of wandering, like looking like, oh, I like that. Let's wander over here, because I missed a lot of the cool stuff that I saw from you guys. I did manage to go to the S&T defense booth. That was very cool. I'm so hoping those Daewoo pattern rifles come in.
Yeah.
But then I missed like the RRW, the Enfield. I watched your video on the Enfield clones, and I was like, that's very cool. Where was that booth? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I missed a lot of that really cool stuff that I should have been paying attention to.
Yeah, you brought up the map, and it was funny is because we were looking for those SA-80s, and Kyle from Gear Know-How, he was the one that told us about it. And no, it was the guys from the Carry Handle podcast.
Oh, okay.
They were telling us about it, and they're like, yeah, it's Murdoch and Co. And I was like, okay. So I'm like looking up Murdoch in the app, and nothing was coming up. And so I'm telling Jefe, I'm like, hey man, text them and find out exactly where they are. And they said, oh, they're in the basement. I was like, okay, great. Where in the basement?
Yeah, because it's huge down
exactly
there.
Right.
Yeah.
So they weren't responding fast enough. So I just looked at Jefe, and I was like, this was our second day. My first day, I had hit the top two companies that I had to hit, which was PSA and Zestava.
Yep.
And then we also knocked out Griffin Armament as well, which was also great. So for the first time in the 8 SHOT Shows that I have attended, I just looked at Jefe, and it's like, you know what? We're just going to walk. We're just going to walk around the basement. I've never really done this before, and I just want to kind of see what's going on. I came across a company called Catman Arms, which is going to be importing a Romanian AK that is different from the Cougar AKs.
Oh, okay.
Made from a different company, different factory. Cougar is the state-sponsored, state-run factory. And then there's another factory, I guess, that is going to start importing them. And so, came across that. That was kind of neat. And then stumbled across the Stenzel booth.
Very cool. I missed that one, boy. I missed that one. I was kicking myself for that.
So I chatted with them, and, I didn't really want to do anything with them because I knew that Clay was probably going to cover it. And I didn't want to do a lot of the same things that Clay was doing. For one, because I knew that he was going to get a lot more traction than I would. And two, I didn't want to feel as if I was like a Johnny come lately. I'm just doing what Clay's doing,
Right.
So, and still, again, that SA-80 had grabbed my attention. I was like, I got to find this thing. And it just so happened that we walked a few booths down from Stenzel, and boom, there was Murdoch and Co. And we're like, holy cow, this is it. Oh, this is it. So then we started talking with the guys there, and the guy that he interviewed was outstanding. He was a great gentleman. He was very passionate about
that was a great video.
Yeah. And then his partner that was helping him, that could not be on camera because he was supposed to be at work. And oh, by the way, he works at a school in England.
Oh, geez.
It's like, yeah, you're not going to get out of this one. But it turns out that he has his own YouTube channel, and it's actually a really interesting and cool channel. I mean, the production of his videos are actually really, really good. And it's his channel is called Pathfinder Preparedness, I think is what it was called. I'm going to see if I can get him onto the podcast. It'll be a lot of fun because he's
nice.
It turns out he and I were in Afghanistan on the same installation at the same time.
This is the guy you interviewed or the guy that could not be on camera?
This was the guy that could not be on camera.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, yeah. He was
that's awesome.
So in Helmand province, you had Fob Leatherneck.
Right.
And that was the US side, and then there was an airstrip, and on the other side of the airstrip was Bastion. Well, no, I take that back. That there was Leatherneck, and then there was a like no man's land in between Leatherneck and still on the installation. So it was, you could walk back and forth. So it wasn't that big of a deal, but there was about a quarter-mile stretch of road between Leatherneck and Bastion. And Bastion was the British ran FOB that had all of your coalition units. You had the obviously you had the Brits, you had the Estonians, you had the Italians, you had the Swiss, or not Swiss, the Swedes.
Cool.
And I think you even had a small contingent of Koreans as well. Huh. So one of my jobs when I was there was liaison for the Estonians. And so I was spending tons of time over there, and I probably could have bumped right into this guy and would have never known, you know? So I thought
that's wild. It's a small world. Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway,
well, it was kind of funny because when you and I met, we were both 19 kilos.
Yeah.
And I was like, no way. Like, what? You know, so.
Well, it's even funny there too, because the guy that lives directly across the street from me and then one house down, he's a 19 kilo as well. And I was like, jeez,
freaking tankers.
I know, right?
But yeah, some of those are the type of boosts, man. I watched yours and Clay's videos and a bunch of SHOT Show coverage also from different channels. And I was like, man, I missed those boosts. Those were the interesting ones. I should have gone down more into the basement and wandered around. But I'll probably do that next time.
And I tell you that that is a comment that Clay said. Was it Clay or maybe it was Rodrigo? One of the guys from the Shield Guild made a comment that the basement is where the innovation is. You can go up and see all the new stuff from, Colt or Glock or Smith & Wesson or PSA or whomever. But if you really want to see the innovation, the things that are actually changing the industry, it's down in the basement. And I fully believe that after looking back at the last few SHOT Shows, because prime example, my very first SHOT Show, PSA was down in the basement.
Really?
Yes. And oh man, this would have been SHOT Show 2018. And they had a different crew running the show back then. And so they had the ladies that were, kind of dressed up really nice.
Yeah.
And
the gun bunnies.
Oh yeah. And so if you had any questions, they'd be like, "That's a great question. Let me take you over here to this guy. He can help you." So they were there really just to direct traffic, which, I mean, is smart, but it's, I don't know, the execution's not there.
Yeah, it's kind of cheesy.
Yeah. But that was the same time that they announced that they were going to produce the MP5. And at that point, I really don't know of any American company that was trying to do an MP5.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So to see something like that, that was, I don't want to say that was innovation, but that was something that was a bit of out of the norm.
Yeah.
Whereas now you're starting to see companies that are really forcing the larger companies to either become better or die. And one of the areas that I also see is all of the different optics manufacturers that you see in the basement. There's a lot of Chinese stuff, of course, but what they are doing is they're taking what some of the other companies have been doing, making it their own, and then improving upon it and coming in at a very low price, you know?
Yep. Oh yeah.
And so that's kind of the interesting things that you're starting to see down in the basement. People who are adapting to the industry and just really pushing the larger companies to step up their game, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Forcing them to earn that reputation that they like to tout, that brand that these large companies like to, wear on their sleeve. But it's funny. I want to go back to the Murdoch and Co. Uh, booth, if we could.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned you were wandering around looking for them. So the wife and I spent like 2 hours wandering around. I wanted to go to the Pioneer Arms booth, right? I wanted to talk to, I forget the guy's name that was there. I think you talked to him. I think Rodrigo did too. Graham, thank you. I wanted to talk to Graham about the new stuff they're coming out, what happened, if he had any back with the importation thing, and now I know they're in North Carolina, but I really wanted to nail down exactly what happened with that instead of just rumor and conjecture that you hear online. So we had the map and we're looking for Pioneer Arms, and I couldn't find it. I didn't see it, and I'm like, and I saw Pioneer Manufacturing. I'm like, well, that must be them. Oh, Mark, we wandered around for 2 hours and could not find, and then come to find out he's at the Davidson's booth, right?
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, he's at the Davidson's booth. This was Wednesday, but late Wednesday. So I said, okay, hon, we're going to go there Thursday. I want to talk to this guy. I want to, we go by the Davidson's booth. He's not there. He's either at lunch or he's walking around himself looking at other booths, and and they should do that. But so I didn't end up getting to talk to him. But that emphasized some of the problems, and what reminded me of this when you're talking about PSA booth with the girls, some of the problems some of these companies had. For example, and I'm not trying to call out anybody, but I went over to the Pieta booth because I wanted to see that new Colt Python copy, the Blacktooth. So they had some gentlemen there, some representatives from their distribution apparently or importation is based here in Casper. So that was another. I was like, oh, that's really cool. You're right in town. I'm in town. Their booth was being manned by students from a gunsmithing school in Douglas, which is about an hour south of here, or so, not south, but an hour away from Casper. So I was like, okay, so they hired local gunsmithing students from that school to work at their business. And as I was asking them questions, and they're like, oh, I don't really know. I'm not the representative. And I'm like, and they didn't want to be on camera. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm not going to pressure you or anything. But there was several booths like that where we went up and the people that were manning the booth could not explain or articulate the product or, things like that. So that was kind of frustrating. Yeah. There were several booths where I wanted to go have an interview, or like they were being manned by foreigners that didn't speak very good English, like the SAR booth and stuff like that. I'm
S&T.
Like, yeah. Yes. Yeah. S&T. I was like, even the wife was like, she's like, are you gonna interview him and stuff? I was like, I was looking at my other side. I don't think anything speak English. She's like, come on, they have to speak English there. And I went up, talked to them. They're like, no. And I'm like, see, told you. Like, so everybody kind of, I noticed like you, Clay, and the people that did the videos on that booth kind of walked around themselves and just discussed the products and showed them and stuff like that. So that was a little bit frustrating, stuff like that, where you wanted to get down in the weeds and really figure out or interview somebody, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't. Or like I went to the FM booth and I'm like, I asked the guys, like, do you mind if I film the guns? He's like, oh, go ahead, sure. And I said, can I ask you some questions on camera? He's like, well, nope, I can't do that. You got to go sign up with the media person and get on the schedule and talk to them, and they keep it very curated. And I understand that because they don't want false information or mistakes to get out, or
Yeah.
so I get it, but it's kind of frustrating in some cases to do that type of stuff. Like I met, thank you again, you connected me with Mark from DSA.
Oh,
I
yeah.
met him. That he was so cool. And
Mhm.
before, like, a lot of people don't see it, and I'm sure you do this too. Before the camera's on, you're sitting there bullshitting with some of these people that are just really cool,
Mhm.
and you're having a good time talking to them. And I did that the first day, went and talked to him, gave me his business card, did the whole thing. And then I went back Thursday. I said, dang it, I want to get him on camera. I went and asked him, and he was like, sure. So we did the whole thing, and it was awesome. That's a really cool dude. The people at Griffin Armament were cool,
Yeah.
so
It's interesting too, because you then get a dichotomy of personalities, right? You get people like Mark from DSA, who, if you need to know anything about an FAL,
yeah, he's the guy.
he is going to tell you.
Oh yeah.
And he's going to tell you why he thinks that the FAL is better than everything else,
Yeah.
And it's great, but it can be a very dry conversation, whereas then you go over and you talk to the guys and gal from Griffin Armament, and they're just like, yeah, whatever, this and that and the other. And I went over there, and I'm with their high-fiving Ben. We're doing a video, and then I'm getting ready to say goodbye to Mita. Is I've always been calling her Meta, but I guess it's Mita, I guess. But,
yeah.
But then right before I say goodbye, I end up making her cry almost. Yeah, she was almost in tears because I was telling her about Roxy passing away.
Oh yeah.
And last year, Nan and I had sit at the Griffin Armament booth for an hour, and I talked to Ben the entire time. We didn't do any type of video or nothing. I just wanted to connect with them and understand who they were and what they were trying to accomplish. If there was anything I could do to help them, hey, the whole spiel. I'm not asking for anything for free. I'm just asking, what are the things that you guys are excited for? Is there a way that we can work together so we can produce some content and whatever?
Yep.
And while I was doing that with Ben, Nan was talking to Mita, and they were talking dogs the entire time. So as I was getting ready to say goodbye this year, she said, make sure you give Nan a big hug for me. And I was like, absolutely. And she goes, and give all those dogs pets. And I was like, well, we're down one. And she was like, and I was like, yeah, Roxy passed in December. And she's like, no. And I was like, I know. But that's one of the great things about SHOT Shows. You make those connections,
Absolutely. And one of the other things, speaking of the Griffin Armament booth, again, you were like, hey, go over there. They want to meet you. And I was like, again, thank you for that. It's all about making those personal connections. But one of the great things about especially that booth and actually going to SHOT Show and doing this stuff, getting to put your hands on the products, talk to the real people. I did not know. I was unaware. I'm sorry. I might live on a rock, but I was unaware that they made AR-15s.
Right.
I thought they just made cans. So I'm over there and I'm talking to Ben and I go, you guys make AR-15s? He's like, oh yeah, and I picked them up, and Mark, I was impressed. Obviously I didn't get to shoot it, but just the build quality and they're right there in the price range of a Geisley's and Colts and stuff like that. And just the fit finish, the way it felt, I was like, okay, these are nice. Like these are quality, assuming that they work and they shoot. And I'm sure they do. those are very nice AR-15s. And I
Yeah.
never would have known that had I not been there and put my hands on them and talked to those folks. So,
and that was one of the interesting things too for me was they approached me about looking into some of their non suppressor stuff and asked if I would be interested in any of their rifles. And I was like, yeah, I'll take a look, you know.
yep.
I'll take a look to see what you guys have in your catalog here. And so I started looking online at some of their rifles, and I was like, okay, these are interesting. But from the pictures, I was like, oh man, I'm worried that these are like, and this is going to sound really bad, and I don't mean it to sound like this, but Foxtrot Mike, are, you know, they have some rifles that are interesting rifles, and you're expecting these things to be like super sleek and everything, and then you get them in your hand, you're like, okay, these are okay, I guess, you know. And that's kind of what I was expecting from the Griffin when I sent them my proposal as to this is what I'm looking at. This is the types of videos that I'm going to do.
Right.
These are the types of tests that I'm going to put it through. You know, and we would agree on, okay, here's what we're going to send you. And I was like, okay. So then it shows up to my FFL, and my buddy that works there calls me up, and he's like, hey dude, your Griffin showed up, and this thing is freaking rad.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? Okay, I'm on my way. I go down there, I get it, I put it, you know, they pull it out of the box. They because when it came in the box, they have a pretty small box because they ship it with the upper and lower detached, right? And then obviously you pull it out, you slap it together. It's an AR, so it's super easy. And so I put the upper and lower together, and I was like, oh wow, just like you're the exact same impression. I was like, holy cow, especially with all the ambi features. I was expecting the ambi features to be very clunky. They were not. They were very sleek and slim, streamlined. They had done some things to beef up the lower receiver to add some what do you call it? What do you call that boss that goes around like the magazine release? Whereas like the original AR-15,
the fencing,
the fencing, they beefed up the lower receiver to add in fencing for the magazine release on the left side as well.
Oh, okay, awesome. Yeah, because most companies just leave them hanging out there.
Yeah, and so it was those small little features like that. And then this year they are updating the Mark II to have a anti-tilt or an anti-rotation lug on their handguard, because that was like one of my major complaints. That was one of Tactical Response's major complaints with the Mark II, is that the handguard had no type of lugs to prevent that handguard from twisting as it got hot.
Right.
So what they ended up doing, when I thought that was really smart, was they basically notched the upper receiver as a female insert, and then they have a male lug on the Picatinny section for the handguard, and it marries as the receiver and handguard come together on the Picatinny section. Yeah, it was really, really cool.
Yeah, my Colt M5 has something similar to that.
Okay.
To prevent it from, you know what, Mark? I love that. I love being surprised by certain things, by having an expectation. And then in the case, like we we're just talking about Griffin Armament, and it comes in, you're like blown away. It exceeds expectations.
Yeah.
I love it when that happens. On the reverse, though, when you expect something, and partially, I think I wanted to touch on this a little bit. I did a review. I bought a Krebs custom core rifle.
Yes, I saw
AK.
that.
I just want to say this right up front publicly, Mark Krebs is the man. He's the OG. They make some fantastic stuff. If you watch the whole video on the way through, after shooting it, my impression came up because I was a little bit disappointed with some of the things, the condition that rifle came in, and for what I paid for it. And it wasn't a slight against Mark Krebs or the company or anything like that. But I think it was a combination of my expectations possibly being a little too high, and some of the things, there were some legitimate complaints I feel about that rifle. But then when I took it out and shot it, I was like, okay, wow, like it shoots great. And there's some just super smooth things on that rifle and stuff like that. But that was the reverse of that. I was so excited to finally get a Krebs custom, and I want an M23 so bad. Those things just look phenomenal. You know, you watch Clay's video on that stuff and some of these other guys that are running those things, and wow, what a machine, right? So I finally I think there was a little bit of over expectation. And when I finally got it out there and shot it, I was like, okay, this thing's legit. It shoots great.
Yeah.
But that was the reverse of the experience that I had. And again, I have not fully reviewed and shot a Griffin Armament AR-15. I would love to. They look fantastic. But based on what you said, that was the exact converse of that,
I have never had a rifle out of the box shoot M193 with a 4 o'clock ejection pattern. Never happened before. Most of the time when I shoot M193, obviously that's full power, 55 grain, 5.56.
Oh yeah.
So you're at minimum, you're talking like a 233 o'clock ejection pattern, which is okay. But most of the time it's like a 2 o'clock, because most of the rifles that I shoot are overgassed.
Yes.
And then to pull this out and see the rounds go 45-degree angle to my rear, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
and a nice little pile over there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep.
And it was ejecting about 5 feet away from me, so I was like, that's amazing. That was really, really cool to see that with the Griffin Mark II. But anyway, tell me what was one of the things that you came across at SHOT Show that just, I know there wasn't a lot, and I'm going to be very cautious to say it's like it blew your mind.
Right.
But what was the one thing that you took away from SHOT Show this year that you were like, man, if that is something I saw this year, I have to come back next year?
So when I was at the SDS Imports booth, the 2035,
I knew you were going to
high power. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't plugged in. There was no real fanfare for that. I wasn't expecting it. I go to the booth and I was expecting to look at what TSIS had, because I've done a lot of TSIS 1911 reviews on my channel, and they're very popular because of price and build quality and all kinds of stuff like that. I think you just picked up one recently, didn't you?
I did.
Okay.
For a special project.
for a princely sum of $300 and some odd dollars. So real quick, were you impressed for the price you paid for?
I'm not unimpressed. I haven't shot it yet, but I've been on a tear on your YouTube channel over the last 3 days.
Okay.
And every video that pops up is a TSIS video. I was like, all right, well, we're just going to run the gauntlet of TSIS videos on Wyoming Gun Projects.
Yeah.
But looking at every single one of your 1911 videos, you're talking about, pushing down on the barrel hood and pushing down on the safety selector, right?
Yep.
There's an over travel,
the thumb safety. Yep.
And then one of the tests that you are doing is you push back on the trigger, and then you start engaging the grip safety to find out where it engages.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, that's a test I've never looked at before. And you're right. Every single one of these T-sauces that you've reviewed and the one that I have in my hand right now, that grip safety engages about halfway in.
Mm-hmm.
Where you said, like with Colts, it's like a full engagement.
Right, which can lead to, not getting a proper grip and then not being able to fire the gun.
Right.
So, yeah. But
So-
so I wasn't aware that thing even existed. So I show up and I'm just wandering through the booth and I'm like, what the heck is this? And they didn't put it front and center. It wasn't huge fanfare.
Nope.
And I was like, what is this? And I picked it up and I looked at it. This was all before I got a interview with the guy Colby the next day I came back after talking to him. But I was like, what is this? And I'm like, this is a modernized high power with a lot of 2011 features, but you still get the grip frame and the feel and everything else of the high power. That is the one, I think that's the one product that I was impressed with there.
Same. And
yeah.
I didn't get an opportunity to do a video on that. The guy that was there doing the interviews, I think he did the interview with you. He seemed to, he was way too busy. And I could tell that he was a little kind of over it by the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was Thursday afternoon, and I'm pretty sure he was just kind of, And then I was eavesdropping on another YouTuber, which, by the way, he had this like harness around his neck for his phone so that he could hook his phone around his neck and be able to film without having to hold his phone in his hand. He had both hands free. And I'm like, holy cow, that's
brilliant.
Yeah. I walked up to him and I was like, hey man, I hate to bother you. I know you're busy. I just got to check out this harness that you got going on. He's like, isn't this the coolest thing ever? And I was like, yeah, you have no idea how many times I have held my phone in my mouth to do an Instagram reel,
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So funny thing is Colby told me that was the gentleman's name that I interviewed. That was his very first SHOT Show ever also. And that was the very first interview he ever did was mine. And I was like, cool, man, that's cool. And he killed it. I got so many comments. He actually has a YouTube channel too. I subbed to him. He got so many comments about how well he did and about how knowledgeable he was about the products.
That's really
cool.
I
was impressed. But also, I guess the cat's out the bag now. They I guess SDS Imports and TSIS have separated now because when I went there, I was like, hey man, why is the TSIS logo spray painted over? Somebody just spray painted over the TSIS logos at the booth. So I guess it was the last minute. And TSIS had a small booth way off somewhere. They didn't have any guns. They had a couple of chairs, and that was it. It looked like a place where people, like buyers, would go to do contracts or whatever. So at the time, I didn't know what was going on. They couldn't really talk about it. They're like, there's some small issues. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I guess now it's kind of out there that they're not going to be importing them anymore, I guess.
So, but that's just SDS is not going to import.
Just SDS, yes.
Yeah, somebody else is going to pick
yes, them up. Apparently.
Have you heard who?
I have not. I have heard that they want to do it themselves. I don't know how, but heard rumors, I cannot confirm this, but a rumor that they were not happy with their guns being sold at such a low price. I don't know if that's true, but there is a possibility where they could start bringing them in again, and then that prices go way up.
Man,
so
don't tell me that, because I watched your video on the Raider.
Yeah,
and I'm like, man, I don't want one of those so bad.
Yeah. So funny thing is, I went to the local gun store here, Wyoming Gun Company, in town, and they had a Colt in there. I think it was 21 or $2,200 for
Jeez.
the M45 A1, and I think you can get those Raiders now in the mid fours. So it's
Really?
just,
Dang.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't need to know that because I'm trying not to spend money right now. I know that
Yep.
I got special plans for my thesis and the things that I'm going to have done to it because I'm going to have it spoiler alert, I'm having some custom work done to it.
Nice.
I'm going to spend probably twice as much on the custom work to it than the pistol is actually worth. So I'm expecting $600 to $700 worth of custom work and put into it, and I paid like what $350 for it.
Nice.
So, you know, so and it's I mean, like I said, I haven't had it out to the range yet, but
Hmm.
as far as a 1911 A1, it is it is a 1911 A1. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah,
okay,
I think the real quick, I think also because that 2035 seemed more innovative than like I was disappointed with the FN Scar because I really think FN pulled a bait and switch on us.
100%,
And
100%.
it was so shady. And it was like, I know you did all these little changes to it, but you just basically from the outside, it looks like you put an extended rail on it and you're like, all right, we're good.
Yeah.
You know?
That is 100% correct, man. A freaking and so many people have brought that up as well. That it is you cannot tell me that that wasn't the case. You know,
Oh
so
yeah. They knew what they were doing.
100%. So okay, so we talked about your number one takeaway, and I would say that that was probably one of mine as well. I would say I didn't get a chance to see it, but I felt like I did with as much talking that Clay and I did about it, not only during the week at SHOT Show, but also on our live chat as well. And that is the Black Rain Ordnance AK. I thought that that was very, very interesting that a predominant AR company is now going to produce a quote unquote type 3 style AK 47. And to see them kind of put themselves out there and to reach out to people like Mark Krebs and some of the other big name AK builders in the scene, I thought was very interesting as well. And you know, Clay was like, "Hey, I'm not upset about this," you know. So I thought that that was pretty cool.
I thought it was cool too. I see those another one of those products I completely missed. And when I saw your guys' video, I was like, oh, or Clay, I think Clay did a video.
Correct.
Um, I was like, oh, okay, but here's the big but for me. And so have you ever heard of a YouTube channel called School of the American Rifle?
Oh, of course.
Okay. Have you seen his Black Rain Ordnance videos on that stuff? He
I don't think I need to. I already know the
Oh
conclusion of it.
man, I think it was probably if you asked him, I'm not trying to speak for the man, but he is highly regarded. I love that guy's channel. I wish he
Yes.
would put out more videos. He is so detail oriented and
Hmm.
highly regarded as one of the best AR gunsmiths, builders, knowledgeable guys that was probably the worst factory built AR-15 he ever had on his channel. I think he alludes to that, and
Wow.
because I went back and watched the video, I was like, "Oh my gosh, it was a hot dumpster fire mess, that
Yeah.
thing."
Was it
And uh
a rifle new out of the box or was it?
yes,
Oh,
yes, and
wow.
it was
Man.
so you can go find the video, and
Yeah.
it was so bad. With that being said, I also think so with that type of reputation that they have on certain things, and then with the price that they were asking,
Yeah.
which I think was what, 24?
Yeah.
Why?
Mhm.
24, you're in the rifle dynamics, the Meridian, you're solidly in the rifle dynamics, the Meridian defense, the M13s, the Mark Krebs. You're inside. If I had $2,400 to spend on an AK pattern rifle, I'm buying an M23 all day long. And
Yeah.
I think people in the AK community know that. These other companies already have brand recognition. Fuller Phoenix, all these, they
Yes.
already have very loyal and very, brand recognition in the AK community, which is a small but autistic community
Yes,
when
it
it
is.
comes to that stuff. And I say that with all the love in the world for it. And so for them to come out and people and AK guys, I get the impression, because I know I am, are suspect of AR-15 companies trying to bring out AKs,
Mhm.
a la PSA and stuff
Mhm.
like that. We've had our negative to mediocre experiences with some of these AR companies bringing these rifles out. So to start right out the gate with a custom like $2,400 AK, it's going to be a hard sell, I think, man. I really
I
do.
think
I
so too.
applaud them for doing it. I applaud
Mhm.
them for doing it. I think it's cool. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I just think it's going to be really tough.
It will be. It'll be a tough sale because they're like you said, an unknown quantity
Mhm.
in a sea of very specialized AK builders such as Meridian, Rifle
Yep.
Dynamics, Mark Krebs, Fuller Phoenix. Um, there, right there, you've got 4 top builders within the AK community that people are going to gravitate to. So
Yep.
now you've got this upstart Johnny come lately that doesn't necessarily have the best reputation. However, here's what I'll say. 2 points. Number 1 is if you look at what that rifle is offering, it's going to be very hard for people to swallow, but if you solely look at what that rifle is offering, the price point is justifiable. You could argue that price point because you're talking about a milled receiver, so a Type 3 style receiver. You're talking about adjustable gas. You're talking a customized handguard that is going to have an integrated iron sight into the handguard that
I
you
thought
can
that
then.
was very cool,
I
by the
did
way.
too. I really did like that.
Mhm.
It's not going to have your standard AK furniture. Um, so they have done some very interesting improvements. However, you're again an unknown quantity. The flip side of that coin is they have created a base of consumers for their products, very much like BCA. BCA, Bear Creek
Mhm.
Arsenal, who also debuted an AK at
Oof, I
SHOT
saw
Show.
that.
Let me tell you. But kudos to them. I'll get to
Yes.
them here in just a second. But both Black Rain and Bear Creek, they have their client base. And those guys are the type of guys that you're not going to be able to tell them nothing, right?
100%.
Right. So now with like Bear Creek Arsenal, their AK is a budget AK. It is, if they release it, it will be legitimately the cheapest AK that you can buy. Sitting
Mm.
initial price point, they said $550. Maybe as high as 600. But one of the one of the things about it is there's not too many forged parts on that AK.
Yeah, right.
There's a lot of milled parts on it. They have a milled front trunnion. They have a milled bolt. They have a forged carrier, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Huh.
And then they had a 4150 barrel, not chrome line, just a standard 4150 steel barrel.
Is it even nitrided?
I'm sure it's nitrited.
Okay.
And they make their own barrels, you know.
Oh,
So
yeah.
so and Clay and I looked at the CEO and was like, "Hey, look, if you guys are going to do this, we want you to do this. We're excited for you to do this.
Sure.
We want you guys to do things right. And if you guys screw this up, you will have a reputation that will transcend time. You will be known as the next IO."
Yeah, Mark, it's so funny that you say that because as you were telling me about the rifle, I was like, you mean like IO Inc? That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking in my head. You mean like IO? Like IO. And you know what's funny about AK guys and the AK community is they have long memories and they do not forget. And if you
Yep.
bring some stuff up like that, they will shit on you in a heartbeat
Oh yeah.
and destroy your nobody will buy those things except the randos who's going to put 10 to 15 rounds a year through them or what a mag here and
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And that the way you were described, I watched the video and the way you were talking about it now, I have some serious concerns
Yeah.
because for $500, you have to cut some extreme corners on
Yeah.
that. And that is not good for an AK. If you want to properly build, let's just do this right now. So for like Romanian kits that are in the country right now, they're hovering between $400 to $500, depending on condition.
Yes.
Now, the heart of the AK is that bolt and that trunnion and that carrier, especially the bolt and the trunnion. Those have got to be solid.
Yes.
You can count on the Wassers and the Romanian kits because they were built in Q gear, like you said, wartime factories. So they're more than likely going to be built correct with the proper metallurgy, the proper hardness, and all this other kind of stuff. Because, like certain people say, and this is a fact, AKs live and die on their headspace. If you have a soft trunnion, if you have a soft bolt and they start to stretch and beat each other up, you're going to lose headspace. That rifle is going to become dangerous. So at minimum, for me at least, on the ones I buy, you should have a forged trunnion and a properly built bolt and all that other kind of stuff. If they're doing it with subpar materials,
Yeah.
you're going to get what a lot of people complain about, the Century, the Viscas and the what's Raz 47s,
Yeah.
and you put enough rounds through them and they just stretch and lose headspace,
Yeah.
and then you got a bomb.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
So
100%. And that's exactly what we told them. Now the kudos to Bear Creek they were not dodgy at all about our questions. Every question we asked, they answered. They were very nonchalant about it. They're like, yeah, we're exploring. We're not sure, but if but we're thinking that we're going to release in summer is where we're at. We've built 4, and this is kind of just where we're at, you know, and this is how we're going to build them. And we're like, okay, well,
okay, good luck.
But I will say, and I mentioned this in my most recent video on the Pioneer Arms AK,
Mm-hmm.
these companies, well, Bear Creek, Pioneer Arms, even Century, PSA, they live in a sector of the industry for a reason, because 90% of people who own firearms shoot less than 50 rounds a year.
Yep.
People don't think that because all they see is YouTubers like yourself or me or Clay or whomever who are mag dumping into trash every single video. So they know these guys are just blowing through the ammunition, and they just think that that's every single gun guy out there. But I know people, that shoot less than 20 rounds a year. They take their hunting rifle out to the range, they verify the zero, they walk out to their hunting blind, they pull the trigger once, they they harvest their deer, they drag it in, and that's it for them. You know?
That's 100% true.
You know, and that is thousands upon thousands of gun owners that do that. But
yeah,
then you have the other 10% or even less who are the yous and the me's and the, you know, the clays and even these people who don't have a social media presence who go out there and compete in Kalash Bash, Kalashnikon, 2-gun competitions, you know, USPSA and all these other different type of competitions. And so PSA and Bear Creek Arsenal and Pioneer exists for those people who are not dumping thousands of rounds a year. So they can buy an AK. They can buy one of these Sporter 5.56 AKs or their traditional 7.62 by 39 AKs. Shoot 100 rounds at the range once a year. Have some fun with some friends. Plank a little bit, and that rifle is going to last them 10 years. You know,
100%. I did a video on that. I call them casuals.
Yeah.
I said, like, you know, 80-90% of gun owners are casuals, and that's okay. They do. I have known so many people exactly how you describe, Mark. They go out on usually they go out on when the weather is really nice. They'll go out on the 4th of July. They'll go out on, you know, New Year's or Memorial Day, and they will fire a box of 50, or they'll go out once a month, fire a box of 50. I said the same thing about a PSA AK. I said, let's just say that these things are failing at 5,000 rounds, because that seemed to be the number. A lot of these will make it about 5,000 rounds. You hear on the internet, you hear people say, speaking of the PSA AKs, I currently have one back at PSA because it's now getting light primer strikes, and it's just over 1,000 rounds that it started to happen. So, you know, I have experienced issues with PSA. But I said, let's just say it goes 5,000 rounds. If most people on the high end, if they put 500 rounds a year in their gun, that's going to last them 10 years. And they'll probably end up selling or trading that thing off, you know, before they get to that point anyway. Or like you said, they'll fire it, they'll get bored, it'll sit in the safe for 20 years and never fire another round. A lot of people, especially with the price of ammunition, they're not going to buy cases of 7.62 by 39 and shoot them like we do. You're exactly right. So for the common man, that gun will last forever, you know, and it has a full warranty. These are the same folks that will buy Taurus, not crapping on Taurus, because Taurus are okay guns, especially if you're going to buy a gun, again, shoot a box of 50 through it, load it back up, put it in your dresser drawer, and it sits there and it comes out and gets dusted off and fired once every couple of years. And that's it.
Yeah.
You know,
and again, these companies live in this space. I've gotten into arguments with other content creators specifically about AKs who say that, you know, that basically PSA AKs shouldn't exist because they're not built correctly. And again, going back to what you said earlier, AKs have to be built very specifically to ensure that headspace remains for a very long period of time. And my counter argument was, why does it need to be like bomb proof? It should work 100%. It should work. That's we're not arguing that. But should it have to have swell neck rivets and countersunk rivet holes and, you know, X, Y, and Z of all the different high-end, high labor-intensive manufacturing for an AK? If a company can cut the corners to provide you something that it will work for a very long time in comparison to how much a person shoots, but at a pretty decent price, why wouldn't someone want to buy that? You know? And the response that I got was shocking, because the person that came back at me said, well, those people shouldn't own guns. If they're not going to go out and train with their guns, if they're not going to go out every single weekend, he didn't say every weekend,
Right.
but if they're not going to go out on a regular basis and train with their guns, they shouldn't own guns. And I'm like, well, that's the most un-American
That's foolish.
thing.
I know.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
The most un-American thing I've ever heard. I mean,
our whole entire Continental Army was made up of citizen soldiers. They didn't go out there and shoot their muskets every day and weren't professional soldiers
right.
when we had to fight the British and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah, it's just like you and I have gone around and around about this
Mhm.
time and time again. We're both on the same mindset. And
yes.
And I understand. I mean, a prime example is my son, right? My son is in his mid-20s. He owns a pistol. He owns a rifle. I don't know, and this is a failure on my part, and I take full responsibility on this. But I'm pretty sure the last time that he fired a firearm was probably 2019.
Wow. Yeah.
Now we live 2 hours apart. But that's not necessarily an excuse. Obviously, I've got some work to do.
Yeah. Well, no, some people, hey, Mark, listen, God bless them for owning the guns. Some people, that's just not their thing. I take my kids out. You've been to the house. We go right out back. I'm like, hey, I'm going. They're like, Dad, I'm playing Roblox and stuff. And sometimes you got to get them and go, come on, now let's, you need to stop playing computer and stuff. But it's some people, most people, it's not their thing. I have done videos on that too, Mark. I said, we've got to realize and get out of our bubble. We are the gun autist. It's our thing. Like it is our thing. Like skiing is some people's thing. Like fishing is some people's thing. I got a buddy, he spent $80,000 on a bass boat and he fishes like crazy. That's his thing. He also shoots guns and all that other kind of stuff. But his thing is fishing. We put our money towards guns and ammunition, and we got to realize that we live in this bubble of people who do train a lot, shoot a lot, build guns, work on guns, make videos about guns, talk about guns, do podcasts about guns. The majority of people are trying to pay their bills, get their kids to school, go on a vacation, and then occasionally they'll go out and they'll shoot some guns. And we look at life, we approach the firearms industry and firearms and gun ownership from a completely different level. We're like the zealots to a lot of people,
Yeah.
And they don't understand us and we don't understand that. We're like, why do you not shoot more? It's a perishable skill and it's something you should know. And they're like, why do you spend all this money on ammunition and you turn money into noise? You know what I mean?
Well,
so
I've got a good friend and I love this guy to death. And I'm just actually very jealous of his collection. But realistically, and he goes out and will shoot from time to time. I think he probably goes out once a quarter, once every other month, maybe. But he I think, in my opinion, he's more interested in collecting.
Yes.
Than he is anything else. Because and let me tell you, some of the things that he's got, I'm just like, holy cow! I didn't even know that was. I mean, I knew that was a thing, but this whole kit that you've got surrounding it, I didn't even know was a thing. So
that's cool. And we need those people too.
Yeah,
the people that just collect it and not shoot them and just collect them and preserve them and keep them alive and
kind of like the Ian McCullums,
Yes.
Ian goes out and shoots for sure, but he does. I'm pretty sure he doesn't shoot at our level.
No.
As far as volume, no, I'm not saying that. He probably could outshoot me. I don't know, but I mean, he goes out. He may, if he does a review, I don't think that he usually shoots more than 100. 200 rounds in a video,
if that.
I just started a video series on the Pioneer Arms and it was 303 rounds,
I think I did the same thing on the video review. I did 250, 300 rounds, somewhere around there on the same Pioneer Arms. It's funny because I watched your video and then Kalashman NC is doing one, and I've had this one for a while. I got an underfolder, same gun. I got the underfolder I got to do too. which Clay did the video where he converted to go max turbo, and that was cool, the burn down one.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I think Mark, I agree with you. I think they are. I think my personal opinion of Pioneer Arms. Now I own four. I own two 7.62 guns. One's a wire folder, one's a fixed stock, and then I own the two 5.56 guns, the fixed stock and the underfolder. I think for what I paid for them, they are solid guns, and they will probably outlive the common AK buyer that's going to buy those. And I don't now. Should they be built properly to the way the Russians have learned to build them over the 80 years? I say yes for a standing army
Yeah.
and for stuff. And if you want it that way and you're willing to pay for it that way, yes. For the rest of the world that gets a chance to own those and shoot those, the commercial grade guns are good enough. Are they just as good? I've done videos on that topic too. You got just as good and good enough. I don't even believe the budget, the Bear Creeks, the PSAs, the Radical Firearms, the insert budget AR-15 manufacturer. I don't believe those rifles are just as good as a Daniel Defense, a Colt, a Geisley, all that other kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're good enough for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's another counterpoint that I've always made too is I hear a lot of people, it's like, buy once, cry once. And,
Yes.
Just save your money until you can buy the BCM or the Geisley Super Duty or
Yep.
insert rifle or pistol, wherever,
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, cool. I agree with you. Absolutely. If you want quality, naturally, you're going to want to save money and buy something nice. I agree with the idea of buy once, cry once. Now, what about the single mom that just got done with a horrible divorce, has a stalker boyfriend, and needs something right away and has $250 to spend and doesn't really have that much money? They're just stretching it.
Yep.
What do they do? Are they just going to sit around and save up their money
for a staccato?
Yeah, for their their ex to come along and and maybe harm them?
No, you go down, you buy that Taurus.
Exactly.
Because it's going to work.
So
is the staccato a better gun? Yes. But does she need us in that scenario? Does she need a staccato? Is she going to wait to save up $2,500 to buy a staccato? No. It's like this might be a terrible analogy, but it's like buying a 16-year-old. They're going to go get their driver's license, and you buy them a freaking Lamborghini or something like that for their first car. It's like, what? Yeah. Like,
Yeah, and that's the thing. I've got a 16-year-old, and we're getting to the point where it's about that time to start looking into a vehicle, and I'm really concerned that her mom is going to just go out and buy her a brand new car. And I'm like, and I'm going to be like on the hook for half of it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's not where I'm. That's not my idea of a good time.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, I think we've kind of beat that horse to death there.
Yeah.
So we've pretty much talked about my next question, but what was your biggest letdown from this year's show?
The PSA booth, man. The PSA booth. Can we back up just a little bit?
Absolutely.
I think because I wanted to mention this. The 2035 was my biggest. I was impressed the most with that.
Yeah.
But also the T48. Talking to Mark at the DSA booth, and then it was at the PSA booth. The T48 was very cool, and I appreciated. He was talking about how much work and time and effort went in to replicate that, and they wanted to get it almost dead nuts accurate, and I really appreciated that. So that was another one there. Biggest letdown for me would have to be the PSA booth in general, because I got so accustomed over the last 5 years or whatever of the PSA booth just knocking it out of the park with the cool stuff that they're showing. I know, again, a lot of it didn't come to market, if any of it. A lot of
Right.
those things never materialized, but it was just very cool. I was always like, what's the PSA booth going to do this year? What
Yep.
kind of cool, radical stuff are they going to do this year? Also, I noticed, I want to say this as a side note to PSA. I've heard other creators say this in their videos and stuff. PSA kind of cut us out under the knees, man. They started a week before SHOT Show and they
Yep.
just started letting, spilling the beans and releasing all their stuff on their own, kind of cutting the gun tubers out of the whole situation.
Yep.
And then I got there and it was like they were talking about this 50 cal and the VOOC still isn't out and this all these things, the X9 or whatever that was, and the 5.7 kind of MT7 clone
Yep.
thing, and all this, and it was like none of that came. They go, but we have these copies of like the Flux Raider or something, and we're like, well, wait, what? Where did that come from? Like,
Yeah.
what was?
Which isn't anywhere near being in production.
Yeah. And then it kind of sounded, this is my personal opinion, but it kind of sounded a little bit shady that they're like, well, we're shelving the 50 cal because of the price of ammo. Wait, what?
No.
People would still buy a budget 50 cal and then they'll figure out the ammo later if that's their thing, know?
No, I firmly believe this is conspiracy theory.
Uh-huh.
I firmly believe that they found something seriously wrong with it in the way that they were going to have to build it to keep it at the price that they wanted. And they're like, we can't do this.
Yeah.
Because with an AR, if you mess something up and it detonates, it's more than likely not going to hurt you.
Yes.
You might get a bruise, you might get a little bit of a laceration or something like that, but you're not going to lose fingers. Right? They probably found out in some of their initial testing that if they continued with what they were going to do, they were going to turn their 50 cal into what messed up Kentucky ballistics.
Yeah. Yep.
That's my opinion. I have nothing to base that opinion on, but the abruptness and their ability, their way to say, well, it's because of ammo. And I'm like, no, it's not.
No, that's the same thing I said. People are like, ammo, what? You read the comments of some of the video. They're like, oh, this is horse crap. It doesn't have anything to do with ammo, but they still brought it to the show. So, everybody's been they were calling it like vaporware. Like that's all, it was all vaporware. We show this, we could do this. Are you going to do it? No. Like, wait, what? Then why would you?
Yeah. For those that don't know, vaporware is like they present something and then it disappears like vapor. Right.
Yep.
So it's vapor. Yep. That's where the term comes from. But and then a week after SHOT Show, they got bullied so bad about the X9. They were like, okay, I guess we're going to go ahead and do it. But just so you know, it's not.
I saw a video from the guy, was his name Cameron or one of the guys? Yeah. And he was like, it kind of sounded like he was pissed. He was like, all right, you guys bullied us, and since you won't shut up about it, here's the X9. And I was like, was that me, or was that kind of contentious right there? Like, was he irritated? It seemed like he was irritated with the audience.
I think,
or the customer,
Yeah, and I think that PSA, to be frankly honest with you, probably put out that video just to get people to stop like trolling them about it,
Yeah.
And again, it's the same thing with the X57. We're now on 2 years of them promising that this was going to come out. It's going to be out in fourth quarter, and the fourth quarter comes on. Well, we found that there are some things that we just didn't like, so we're improving on that, and we're thinking in the next couple of quarters we'll have things. And now it's like, well, we're in our long-term endurance testing, and I'm like,
are you though?
Is that really the case? Because the one that you had available for us to look at had a whole bunch of 3D printed parts on it. So so
yeah, but
it's just,
but that was that was my biggest disappointment, man, because I remember watching your videos, Clay's videos, a lot of people's videos, especially the one shot show year. It dropped, and they had the STG 44, they had the shotguns, they had the VOOC, must have had a dozen new innovative products at the booth, and I don't think one has come out yet. And that was probably
Nope.
2-3 years ago, if I remember correctly. We're shelving this. Maybe it might have been 4 years ago. Shoot, I don't remember.
I think of everything, the only thing that they're even close to dropping is their shotgun.
Yeah.
I thought that it was supposed to be like, production was supposed to start in fourth quarter last year, and we should see it within the next couple of months, I think. But it was just going to be their standard pump shotgun. But I don't know where we stand with that at all. So, so that was yours. I will tell you,
yours.
Mine was actually one that I didn't even get a chance to bring up in the live chat with Clay. But the more that I thought about it, the more that I realized the FN 309 was mine. I was expecting that pistol to be FN's answer to the SIG P365. And it's essentially a budget Glock 19.
Yep.
It's not a ultra or subcompact, micro compact. It's nothing like that. It is a compact pistol that has 15 round magazine.
Yep.
And when I saw the announcement on FN's Instagram page, I was like, oh, okay. And the pictures, I'm sure there's a joke in here somewhere. The pictures made it look real small, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was, again, expecting something very similar to the P365. I walked by it at the booth thinking that it was like a 509. And I was like, okay, all right, this is 509. I kept on walking. Then I walked to another area, and I was like, wait a second, that's the 509. Well, what's this over here? I walked back to it, and it was the 309. I was like, are you kidding me? This is what you guys are introducing as something special? This is a slightly smaller 509 that's going to cost about $500. Congrats.
Yes.
And I was like, and the trigger was garbage.
Yeah, Mark, that was my second one. I'm glad you said it was the 309. I watched a video from Brett at Nightwood Guns. I don't know if you're familiar with his channel. And I think he summed it up perfectly. He said it's a $500 Taurus. And I said, that's perfect. I said, if you pick it, because I was excited about that too. And I went over there right to the FN booth, and I'm looking around. I picked it up, and I'm like, because it's like an internal hammer fired gun, and I'm like, I said, oh, this feels like, that's the same thing I thought. I said, this feels like a Taurus. And then I watched Brett's video that night, first night of the SHOT Show that I got Tuesday, because we flew in Monday, but we didn't do the range portion. And I said, that's exactly what I thought. That's a perfect description.
Yeah.
It feels like a Taurus, only for $500.
Yeah.
Like,
it was so underwhelming that Jefe didn't even pick it up. He just looked he just looked at it and was like, huh.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
That was it. I was like, yeah, you don't need to.
Yeah.
And then man, I guess if there was a number two, I would probably agree with you with PSA. I did run into Chris, the Honest Outlaw at PSA. And he was actually in Chris, by the way, is a huge steel frame hammer fired pistol type of guy. So, Shadow 2s and PO9s and that's not steel frame, but PO7, the staccatos, and all of the double stack 1911 type pistol. He's big fans of those, and he said that he was very impressed with PSA's 2011 style pistol. I was like, well, if it ever comes out, and he was like,
right.
And well, he was like, well, I'm not saying it's coming out, but they're sending me one. Oh. And I'm like, okay, when? And he's like, it's supposed to be in a couple of months. If he looked at me and he's like, if they send me one,
right.
I can neither confirm nor deny,
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay. So, but I have to take a step back because we all know Chris, Honest Outlaw, dude is one of those stand-up guys, right? In my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
To be walking up to the PSA booth and to see him there, and I was like, oh, look. And I was telling Jefe, I was like, hey, look, there's Honest Outlaw. And as soon as I said that, he turns and sees me, and he was like, hey, and he recognized me, and instantly I was like, oh,
this is awesome.
Yeah, So to have like a big name YouTuber to recognize, little old me, I thought that was pretty cool.
That is cool.
But to hear his perspective on the double stack 9mm 1911 from PSA, I was like, okay, he knows better than I do. So if he's impressed, I will reserve judgment for now,
Yeah, here's the problem with that gun. And depending on price point, it's kind of similar to the Thesis thing. It's very hard for a company that has built their reputation as a budget-friendly brand to step into that high-end gun making. It's much easier for high-end gun makers to make and I'm doing the air quotes, a budget-friendly gun because it's got the name on it. And this goes for any type of product, a Rolex, a car, we've seen that in like the Lexus supercars, or Toyota makes a standard family cars, but when they put their supercars out there, it's a different name because who wants a $120,000 Toyota? A lot of people won't do that. But if you took a Lamborghini and made a $40,000 Lamborghini, they'd sell like hotcakes. My point is, people in the high-end 2011 game specifically, you got Staccato, you got, name them. There's a ton. 2011s are huge right now. And there's a ton of very high-end boutique manufacturers that make really nice 2011 pattern guns.
Yep.
And as soon as PSA gets into that, you start playing around with that $2,000 type of, now people are going to be like, well, why? I would just spend a couple extra $100 and buy because I've heard $2,200 for the price of that gun. I don't know if that's true. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's true, but if that's the case, I can see a lot of people that know about that game, the 2011 game, going, I would just buy the new Kimber 2K11, which is apparently fantastic. Yeah. Or I would buy the Staccato, or I would buy insert high-end 2011 manufacturer here.
Not even high end. You could get a platypus for
for 16, 18. Yeah. So if it's anywhere near that, I don't think it's going to do that well. And even if it comes out to be a banger, Mark, and Chris and Honest Outlaw and the rest of these guys get a hold of them and they're like, dude, this thing is a freaking banger. People are going to go, you're just shilling for PSA because they make junk. That's what they're going to say that. And it might not be true. But again, even with SIG's issues, the P211 seems to be really good. There's some issues out there. It seems like little plastic end pieces breaking off the gun. I've seen videos on that. But otherwise, I've seen positive reviews on that gun. and and it's hovering in that price range. People would still recognize, I think, and choose SIG's P211 over a PSA Saber. Not saying that they're better, but never ever underestimate the power of brand recognition. And when you have been, look how long it's taken Kimber to dig out of the hole that a certain person that's now running SIG put them in 15 years ago. They're having to dig. They got a bad reputation in the mid 2000s, and they're now they're on their redemption arc now. I believe. I think Kimber is really making some good stuff now.
Yeah. They came up with a budget line too.
Yeah, I saw it there. The Warrior or something
like that. Yeah. And I don't know enough about Kimber. Obviously, I know their history and their rise and fall.
Yeah.
And it seems like you said they're on their redemption arc. When I was married to my ex, she really liked the Micro 9, and I bought her one. Well, she bought it, but she needed my help to kind of guide her. And she has little hobbit hands, right? So for her, a Glock wasn't going to work because that distance between the back strap and the trigger was just too long. Even a Beretta 92, which was our sidearm when we were in the Army, that wasn't going to work.
Too big.
Thing. Yeah, too big. Yeah. So ultimately, we found that the Micro 9 was the perfect size for her hand. And I never had a problem with it. It didn't like the ammo that we used to target practice with. But I mean, when I say it didn't like it, it shot at like 7 yards. It was shooting like 2 inches low at 7 yards. Consistently. And it must have been the ammo that we were using. But the problem with it was we couldn't adjust the sights. There was no way to adjust the sights on the Micro 9s. So, but outside of that, we had no reliability issues or anything like that. I've never had, and that's my only interaction with Kimber. So, but obviously I've heard all of the downside to it. Looking at their Warrior line, I was like, okay. I hope this works out for them.
Yep. Well, I think they're trying to go after that. TSUS and Mac, because TSUS and Mac are making budget 2011s that hover right around that 1K price mark. And they look, Mark, I got to be honest with you, they looked a lot like those TSUS and those Mac models.
They did. Yes.
They did. They had the feel of it. They really looked like, I was questioning whether or not they were made in Turkey by those guys, because I was like, okay, these look a lot like the Mac and the TSUS models.
Man, and I really hope that TSUS doesn't increase their prices, because I honestly feel that they're going to win out on volume. Yes. And if they raise the prices because they want to import on their own or whatever, it's going to turn a lot of people off,
It 100%, Mark. I was talking about this with another buddy of mine who runs a gun tube channel, and you're absolutely right. Remember, never underestimate the power of brand recognition. Why would you spend, if you, the gun you bought, right? If it was $550, you might go, oof, that's approaching Springfield Armory GI spec guns. You're getting close to Springfield Armory. You're getting close to budget, the lower end basic models of like Kimbers and, insert American brand Colts and stuff like that. For a couple $100 more, people are going to go, well, I could probably just buy a Colt, even though you could make the argument that the TSUS is a better made pistol than current Colt, and I have made that argument. But for the money, I would say, ah, man, I would at that price, I would go for a Springfield Armory, or like I said, a Colt, or another American made 1911 brand when you start to get within $100 of it. So that's where they're kind of, because I'm telling you, because I have done it, resale value. Think about this. If you buy a 1911 for $350 a thesis,
Mhm.
typically, if you go to sell it at a gun store or something like that, they have to resell. They might give you 150 bucks on that gun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So their resale value is ass. So if you don't plan on reselling it, buy it all day long. But if you buy a Colt, you buy $1,000 Colt, you could probably get 750 for it. So even though again, you can make the argument that they're not built as well, because they definitely have MIM and plastic parts, and the Tisas have all forged parts, and they're solid guns for what they are. But people have gotten accustomed to them to be very budget friendly, and that's one of the main reasons they choose those guns over a Colt. A lot of people say, I don't have $1,000 to spend on a Colt, but I can get the basic GI model of the Tisas for 350 and a bunch of ammo. I'm on that one, and they buy it,
Mhm.
and then it works and it shoots great, and they don't regret it. But if they raise that price up to five, six, $700, I think you're right. I think they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. And, I was just looking at the Raider,
Yeah.
and it's at $600. And I'm like,
Oof.
man,
Hmm.
I've got, I really want one of those. Kind of just a bit of as a beater,
Yeah.
because that would be a very good pistol for me to take out to Wyoming,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
for whatever I encounter out there.
If you wait and you can catch some of the PSA sales, or like Battlehawk Armory or some of these other, I've seen them in the mid to high fours
Mm,
in
okay,
45 ACP. They also make them in 9, I think just 9 and 45.
okay,
But yeah.
yeah. So, it's one of those things. I just hope that we're not seeing is bringing up the concept of PSA introducing more expensive firearms, because that's what they're doing, and I see it.
Yep.
I hope that everybody else is seeing it with their Saber line, right?
Yes.
They've come out with their Saber line, and they're going to start focusing all their attention on their Saber lines, and these really budget friendly ARs, and even their AKs. Those are going to start becoming fewer and fewer in between.
Yep.
And then Saber is where it's going to be at, because I can guarantee you their Saber line has probably a higher profit margin
Oh, yeah.
than their budget stuff, for sure.
Didn't they
And
have a Saber AK that's built
yes,
on Romanian parts? And they're like,
so
it's going to be properly riveted and stuff. And I'm going, you just admitted to not properly riveting the gun. And I get it. Like, it doesn't need to be, it's unless it's a war gun.
right.
But
So yes, I don't know if it was Romanian parts necessarily. It may have been. I don't know. I
yeah,
didn't catch that
I
part.
thought they said it was like Wasser, built on Wassers or
Mm,
something, or
But
Romanian parts, maybe.
right. But one of the things that they were going to start doing is, quote unquote, building correctly. So you're like dimpling the receiver
Yep.
and using swell neck rivets.
Yep.
Those are like, that's what everybody was complaining about.
Hmm.
And hey, let's make sure that your AK's headspace doesn't go out
Doesn't
after
grow. Yeah.
800 rounds, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So, but you're seeing PSA is the biggest example of them, quote unquote, expanding their lineup that is going to have more mid-tier priced products.
Hmm.
Well, something's got to give, and we're starting to. I promise you, we're going to start seeing that with other companies as well.
Yes.
TSOS may be one of those companies, but again, then on the flip side, you have like FN and Kimber. They're like, hey, here's our budget.
Yeah.
It's like, so what is happening here? You know?
Yeah, they're
it's like,
racing to the bottom, and PSA is trying to go up the hill.
Yeah. Oh, another great example is Ruger, who bought out Anderson Firearms, Anderson Manufacturing. They reintroduced their quote unquote everyday man rifle. And they like start at what, $550 or $600?
Yeah, didn't they call it the Harrier or something like that?
Something like that.
Something like that. And everybody online's like, we know what you're doing. This is just an Anderson with a difference,
Well, but what's hilarious to me is High Point introduced their HP 15, which is literally a rebranded Anderson.
Yeah.
Every single part on that rifle is an Anderson manufacturer AM15, just with the High Point branding
logo on it. Yeah.
Yep, that's it. And someone tried to argue with me about that in the comments of my video about that, and they're like, no, that's not the case because Ruger brought them out. And I'm like, okay, well, Anderson was like OEM for a lot of people too.
Yeah.
That was, oh my goodness, that was one of the biggest eye-opening experiences that I had at SHOT Show, which is something I've never been able to go to because I was always at range day, is on Monday and Tuesday, but mostly Monday, is on the fifth floor, fifth floor is the supplier showcase, which is a room that it's not very big. I would say the room is about twice the size of the media room.
Mm-hmm.
But it is all the OEM suppliers to the industry. And to walk around and see, oh, I've seen that with so-and-so, and I've seen that with so-and-so, and oh, look at this. This is, this 1911 part that I've thought was only produced by one company. It's like,
yep, yeah.
Man, I mean, I knew, of course, naturally, I knew that was going on, but then to actually see it in practice and either see these companies are just straight up copying, or they're legitimately the OEM manufacturer for said company that's then just rebrands it. And I was like, that was very interesting, to say the least.
Very eye-opening.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah. So, that's pretty much going to cover it. We're way over our 2-hour mark. we try to keep it to 90 minutes, and we never do that. But Matt, man, thank you so very much for spending the evening with me as we're recording this. Naturally, we always love to give the kind of final word to our guests, kind of last 30 seconds, last parting thoughts to the ether out there. We'll just turn it over to you and just share some wisdom.
Well, I want to say thank you to you for having me on, and for all the friendship you've shown me, and been very cool knowing you. I want to appreciate that. And man, I don't know, man, and just go out there and enjoy your guns, man. Enjoy your Second Amendment freedom, because the state I just left 3 years ago, Virginia, has turned into the Soviet Union because of this last election, which is one of the reasons we moved out here to Wyoming. Mm-hmm. So enjoy your Second Amendment and your firearms freedoms, man, and just don't take life too seriously.
Yeah, 100%, man. Well, first off, you're most welcome. I have really appreciated your friendship and your insight and help on some of the projects that I've been doing out at the ranch.
Yeah.
As well. Hopefully, I'll be out there sooner than later. we've got a wood stove to put in.
Yeah, we do.
But you have a open invitation to come on to the show anytime you'd like. Even if you're just kind of the background color commentary, you're more than welcome to come on. And we hope to have you on again soon with Jefe. As well, and we can talk about some other things. But one of the things that I'd like to close with real quick is never ever make an excuse to put your family first, right? You should never have to excuse yourself for putting your family first. I know that's really difficult in this day and age where hustle and bustle of life just gets in the way. Your job does this, and activities does this, and so on and so forth. We just seem to get pulled in so many different directions. But something that I've learned here in just the last few days is, obviously we all know it, family comes first, and sometimes you just got to drop what you're doing to go take care of things, so keep all of that in mind. With that being said, as we close, again, thank you to XS Sites for their continued awesomeness and sponsorship of this podcast. Make sure you check them out. 20% code is LARP. That's LARP. And we're going to close out. Thanks again, guys. Catch you next time. And don't forget to live, laugh, and LARP. Bye, guys.